All right, so we're going to be doing one and two step or one step inequalities in this video, which is much like just going ahead and solving an equation and then plotting it. So basically, we're going to solve it like an equation, but instead of having an equal sign, we're going to solve it like an inequality where it has an inequality sign, right? So just like an equation you'd be solving, you would add 8. Ew, this is tough. I'm not a fan. Okay, I would add 8 to both sides, right? The r would come down. Negative 8 plus 8 cancels off. That's why we did it. The inequality sign comes down. 2 plus 8 is, of course, 10. So it's just like solving any one-step equation, but now we need to focus on plotting it. So there's my number. It's 10, right? There's no or equal to thing, so we're not going to fill it in. We're going to use an open circle, and I have to ask myself, are those numbers less than 10 or bigger than 10, right? And if you look at the little alligator mouth, you'll know that r is smaller, so you just shade everything smaller. Okay, so we have x plus 15. We have to isolate the x. So we're, of course, going to just, it's a positive 15, so we have to subtract 15 from both sides. Subtract 15 from both sides. It should be writing, but it's not. Subtract 15 from both sides. So we get negative 19 is less than x. And again, this is where that little arrow trick no longer works, right? So negative 19, that's between negative 18 and negative 20, right? Because we're in the negative land of the number line. It goes negative 18, negative 19 that I just circled, negative 20. So you have to ask yourself, x, that represents my solution set. Is x the bigger one or the smaller one? X is the bigger one. And a lot of students get confused, but remember, we're in the negative land. So if we're going to shade bigger numbers, we are going to shade up the number line where we're going to keep going. We're going to pass 0 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just get bigger and bigger. So that's the way this one should be done. So now n divided by 13, if we were solving this like it were an equation, we would be multiplying both sides by 13. And you would get, n is less than negative 260, right? Because you multiplied both sides by 13 to cancel that out. And you get n is less than negative 260. So here's my 260. It's an open circle. And n is everything less than. So I'm going to go down the number line further and further into the negative land. All right. So for this problem, right, we would just divide by 20 on both sides. Why does it lag so bad? Divide by 20, a positive 20, right? Because we're dividing by a positive number. That's an ugly 20, but I'm hoping you get the idea. I will get used to this computer soon. So we have x is less than or equal to negative 20, right? Because negative 400 divided by 20 is negative 20. So here I'm going to put my circle and I'm going to say, oh, there's the or equal to. So I'm going to fill this guy in. Now, is x bigger or littler or lesser? X is lesser, right? The alligator mouth doesn't want it, right? So we're going to go shade in the lesser direction. Okay, so that was how to multiply and divide by a positive number. Now we're going to get into something a little odd. All right, so you'll see here, I'm now multiplying or dividing by a negative number. Now, our last couple problems included negatives, but we were dividing and multiplying by positives. Here, I need to divide by a negative 12, right? So the thing I'm doing is the negative 12. When you divide by a negative, doesn't matter what's over on the other side, but if you're dividing by a negative, you have to flip the sign around. right? So we have B. Hello. We have B. And now since I divided by a negative, I have to flip the sign around. That's a big deal. So if you're watching my videos, good, you got it. And then negative 24 divided by negative 12 is 2. And then we just plot the same way we've been doing. Okay, but if you divide by a negative, you got to flip the sign around. You have to. Okay, so we look at this problem. I have to divide by negative 7. So I am once again dividing by a negative, which means that this sign needs to flip around. B comes down, and then we have a 6 here, a positive 6, right? And there we go. B is smaller. Awesome sauce. So I have a blank slide open right now. I have found that over the years that when I explain why you need to flip the sign when there's a negative or a positive, a negative number, some students get really confused. So if you feel a little lost in the sauce, you don't have to watch this part. But if you're curious why, I'm going to show you right now. So let's say I have a 1, and I have a 5, right? Obviously the 5 is bigger, right? 5 is bigger than 1. What if I multiply both sides by a negative 1? I end up with negative 1 over here, negative 5 over here. Now which one of these is bigger, right? Which one's further up the number line? The negative 1 is. So anytime you divide or multiply by a negative, gotta flip the sign. See you guys later.